Good evening. Thank you for worshiping with us through this Good Friday evening. We will be hearing music and readings, journeying through Thy Will Be Done. Charles Dickens begins his tale of two cities by writing, "It was the best of times. It was the worst of times." The same can be said of Jesus' last week of earthly life. Upon his entry into Jerusalem, he was praised as the Son of David, the Messiah, with the people greeting him and shouting, "Hosanna in the highest." Several days later, he found himself facing humiliation and rejection, with the crowd chanting, "Crucify him," and his Roman executioners taunting him to come down from that cross. We witness a dramatic conclusion to Christ's life in his final week. We see humanity at its worst, exhibiting such unseemly deeds as treachery, betrayal, denial, false arrest, an unfair trial, torture, abuse, mockery, and finally, a horrendously painful execution. The enemies of God seem to win. Evil seems to prevail over good. Holy Week ends in apparent defeat. Interesting, is it not, that historically we have so easily derided the heroes we once so fervently exalted. Long ago, the people of Israel asked God for a king. God instructed the prophet Samuel to anoint Saul as Israel's first king. Samuel reluctantly did so. At first, Saul was lauded as a great ruler, wise, brave, victorious in battle. He was cheered as a hero. But Saul soon fell from grace, and cries of derision replaced the cheers. Samuel anointed David to be the next king, and the same phenomenon occurred. At first, David was cheered and praised as a great monarch, only to eventually die a broken man, fallen from favor. One moment glory, the next moment despair. Our drama unfolds on a street in Jerusalem. It is the beginning of the feast of Passover. The Son of God enters the holy city riding a donkey. The crowds wave palm branches and cheer, "Hosanna in the highest! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." God's Messiah has come. It's the best of times.
Glory, Jesus may be a king, but in the eyes of the temple officials, he behaves more like a religious troublemaker. He enters the temple and fairly explodes over the travesty he witnesses there. God's house has been turned into a marketplace. Incense and prayers have been replaced by greedy merchants hawking their wares. Jesus overturns the tables and tosses them onto the street, saying, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer'? But you have made it a den of thieves." Word of this episode, along with reports of Jesus' teachings, are quickly passed along to the high priest and elders. They are not amused by Jesus' flagrant challenges to their authority. Caiaphas and the elders take secret counsel together to find a way to arrest Jesus and kill him. The worst of times begins.
Judas goes to the chief priests and elders and offers to betray Jesus. "What price will you pay me to deliver him to you?" he asks. They offer him 30 pieces of silver. On the first day of Passover, Jesus is eating supper with the 12 disciples. And during the meal, he startles them by saying, "Truly, I say, one of you will betray me." The disciples are visibly upset and immediately ask Jesus, "Which one of us is the traitor?" Jesus answers, "He who dipped his hand with me in the dish. It is he who will betray me." Judas says, "Is it I, Rabbi?" Jesus answers, "You have said so." The worst of times continues.
I have longed to eat this Passover meal with you before I suffer, says Jesus to his disciples in the upper room. He then takes the bread and gives thanks and shares it with them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Next, he takes the cup and he gives thanks and shares it, saying, "This cup is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins." After supper, they sing a hymn and depart for the Mount of Olives.
Jesus and his disciples arrived at the garden called Gethsemane, where Jesus intends to pray and meditate. He takes Peter, James, and John off to one side and asks them to watch and wait. Soon the disciples grow weary and fall asleep. Meanwhile, Jesus earnestly prays, "O Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." And when Jesus finishes praying, a great crowd of people sent by the chief priests and the elders arrives to arrest him. Judas comes forward out of the crowd and approaches Jesus and kisses him. "Hail, Master," says Judas. "Friend," replies Jesus, "do what you have to do." Jesus is arrested and carried off to face his accusers. The disciples flee in fear. When Judas realizes the terrible thing he has done, he returns to the chief priests and elders and throws the silver coins back at them. He then departs and hangs himself in repentance and remorse.
Jesus is taken to the house of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and elders are gathered to question him. Peter has followed at a distance and now sits in the outer courtyard among some of the guards, awaiting to see how things turn out. A passing servant seems to recognize Peter. "Aren't you one of his followers?" she asks. "I don't know what you are talking about," replies Peter. And he rises and hastens to the entrance of the courtyard. Another servant sees him and proclaims, "This man was with Jesus the Nazarene." Again, Peter claims he does not know Jesus. Soon a man approaches him and directly accuses him of being one of Jesus' disciples. Angrily, Peter replies, "I swear I do not know the man." In the distance, a cock crows, and Peter recalls Jesus' prediction that he would deny him 3 times before the cock crows. Peter leaves, weeping bitter tears.
What was I to say when they looked at me that way? How should I react when they thought I was his friend? If their wrath was turned on you, would you know just what to do? To be part of Jesus' life could be the end. What was I to do when they sought to take me to? What could I have done when they turned upon me then? If they looked at you that way, would you know just what to say? What they do to me is more than I could I don't know why I came here. There is nothing I could have done. Still I want to be with Him. Now that His trial has begun, I swore that I'd not deny Him. Yet I can't seem to make Him my own. Surely knows I love Him, yet why has my heart turned to stone? What was I to say when they took my Lord away? What was I to do when they gave me as His friend? If I loved Him as I should, there'd be little likelihood that I failed to stand with Him, but to the end.
"What have you to say?" asked Caiaphas. Jesus remained silent. One by one, false witnesses testify that Jesus has blasphemed God, and that he claimed to be one of the Messiahs, and that he can tear down the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. "If you are the Messiah, then tell us," demands Caiaphas. Jesus answers, "You have said so." Enraged, the high priest tears his robes and shouts, "You have now heard blasphemy. What is your verdict?" The court answers, "Death." They begin spitting on Jesus. They strike him and mock him. Then they take him to Pilate, the Roman governor. "Are you the king of the Jews?" asks Pilate. "You have said so," replies Jesus. Pilate appears and appeals to the crowd. "Which one do you want me to release, Barabbas or Jesus?" "Barabbas, give us Barabbas," shouts the mob. "And what will I do with Jesus?" "Crucify him," they shout. "Let him be crucified."
Pilate has Jesus whipped and then turns him over to the soldiers to be crucified. The soldiers strip Jesus and put the purple robe on him. They crush a crown of thorns down on his head, causing blood to trickle down his face. "Hail, King of the Jews!" they taunt and jeer. They begin hitting Jesus and spitting in his face. After they tire of making fun of him, they put his own clothes back on him and lead him off to be crucified. On the road to Golgotha, Jesus stumbles beneath the heavy wooden cross he carries on his shoulder. The soldiers force a bystander, Simon of Cyrene, to carry the cross the rest of the way. When they arrive at the place of the skull, the soldiers nail Jesus to the cross. They raise it up and drop it into the hole with an agonizing thump. While Jesus hangs there, they cast lots of his garments and continue to mock him. "King of the Jews, come down from that cross." They shout and laugh. About the 6th hour, noonday, a strange darkness begins to creep over the land. 3 hours later, Jesus cries, my God, why have you forsaken me?" A bystander offers Jesus a vinegar-soaked sponge to drink, but Jesus cries out again with a loud voice and then dies. The earth shakes. The temple curtain is torn in two. Thunder peals ominously from the heavy clouds that darken the countryside. The centurion and those keeping watch with him begin to realize that something incredible happened this day. Truly, this was the Son of God, the centurion exclaims.
That same evening, Joseph of Arimathea, a friend and follower of Jesus, obtains permission from Pilate to have Jesus' body. Permission is granted, and he takes the body and wraps it in clean linen shrouds and lays it in his own new tomb. He has a large stone rolled into place to seal the tomb's opening and then departs. It is the worst of times. Jesus is dead and gone. It seems that he shares the same fate as Saul and David. One moment, a hero. The next moment, a scapegoat. In one short week, we have witnessed the use of most of the weapons in the human arsenal: treachery, betrayal, denial, false arrest, an unfair trial, torture, abuse, mockery, and a painful death, all for the purpose of thwarting God's plan for salvation. It is truly the worst of times. At least it may seem so to Jesus' followers. But what they perhaps do not yet understand is that allowing God's plan to prevail, as Jesus did, can turn the worst of times into the best of times.